I'm Amy, sex educator, sex and relationship coach, and co-owner of PurePleasureShop.com.
I'm April, VP of the cutting-edge sex toy company Hot Octopus, and I dedicate my life to the business of sex.
We are on a mission to teach you how to have hot sex, deep intimacy, and how to make your own rules for who you are as a sexual being.
Welcome to the Shameless Sex Revolution. Want to learn more? Go to shamelesssex.com.
And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use code SHAMELESSSEX at PurePleasureShop.com.
You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our sex podcast collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the Shameless Sex Podcast. Guess what? It's March. Guess what March is, Chip?
March is Women's History Month.
Woo, go women. We love women. We love women. What are some women that you love in history that have done some amazing things for the world?
Well, there are a ton to name, and some people that come up for me, I'll only give two, okay? And then you can give two.
Okay, cool.
Okay, we've got Oprah.
Oh, Oprah.
Oprah, and not because she was one of the first women of color to have a talk show back in the 90s. I think it was even the late 80s. But she was also outed publicly on the show without even knowing she was going to do it, that she was raped when she was 9. She brought awareness to sexual trauma. Yeah. And then also Gloria Steinem, who is one of my favorite activists. She helped so many people in politics, but she helped so many people have access to abortion and to birth control.
Yeah, thank you for that. For well, at least, yeah, just rights to our bodies. I'm going to also go with Jane Goodall, animal rights activist. I love watching. I think that's like some 80s movies. We see her in the lands with the chimpanzees, and she's done a lot for the animal rights movement, and a lot of not just animal rights, but also for education and lack of for academia. And then also Rosa Parks, the first lady of civil rights. And we are in a time of a much more awareness. Hopefully, you're listening and you're tuned into that. And so there's so many other women that we could name, and maybe we'll do that more throughout this month. And Chip, I also would like to nominate you for women in history, but you're still here, so it's still happening.
I mean, there's only Rosa Parks is the one that is no longer on planet Earth. The rest of those women are all still alive.
I believe I don't really know a lot about Jane Goodall's current happenings, but
she just did a show that I watched on. It was like an interview on. It's on Masterclass. She has a Masterclass talking about her work, and it's really cool. She's such a gentle spirit. So
I love that.
Check that out if you have a Masterclass access.
I love women of gentle spirit. I also love badass women who are like, you know what? We're not going to put up with that fucking shit anymore. All right, everyone.
Yeah.
So this episode is with Melissa Hite. We're talking about sex, religion, and why the G-spot is more than a spot. So there's all kinds of things that we dive into. And before we read the bio and tell you a little more about her, we have a sex question for you. And before the sex question, there's a new way that you can see us. There is an app called Clubhouse. It's an audio app where you can follow people. I believe it's invite only somehow. But if you know someone who knows someone, you can go on this app. And if you're following people, it will just show when they're giving some sort of talk or information that you can listen to. So it's a little different than podcasts because it's actually live, and it doesn't have video. So you can just listen and walk down the street. And guess what? We're doing a Pleasure Podcast Meetup on Clubhouse. Pleasure Podcast is the network of sex positive podcasts that we're with, such as Sex Talk with My Mom, Sluts and Scholars, etc. And a number of us are going to be on there this Thursday, March 4th at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So all you do is you go on there, you follow us, and then it should be in our bio when we're there giving the talk. And I don't know if it's a talk. It's more like answering sex questions. I think you can ask us sex questions, and we answer them. And it should just be fun, because we're with some funny people, especially Sex Talk with My Mom. We love those Midwestern mother-daughter or mother-son duo, not daughter. All right, we have a sex question. Are you ready for it, Chip?
Yeah.
I would like to hear an episode about giving tips on how to have a sex marathon or having sex all day. I've talked to my wife about doing it and spending all day in bed or go between having sex, maybe watching movies or whatever, but basically spending all day having as much sex as possible. She is down, but I worry about being able to keep going throughout the day. Any tips? I honestly have to say I've never done this. Have you done this?
I have had a lot of sex. It wasn't throughout the day. It was over the course of probably 12 hours, which was in evening into the morning time. And I think it just takes a lot of lubrication, taking breaks, checking in, and making sure as a vulva owner, I have to pee often after there was ejaculate inside of me. So doing the self-care stuff to make sure you can keep going, using sex toys. You can use, obviously, the hot octopus toy if you have a penis, the Pulse product if you want to do edging, or if you want to have multiple orgasms because it helps with achieving an erection even after you orgasm. You can, I think that would be my top 3 things that I would do: sex toys, breaks, and lube.
Yeah. And you can get the hot octopus toys at purepleasureshop.com with coupon code shamelesssex. You get 15% off. Go check it out. I own it with my mommy. Hi, mommy. And there's lots of other sex toys on there. I agree with those things. And I think this person says, being able to keep going. And I wonder if what you're talking about is erections. And I think getting away from the idea of needing sex to always involve a rock hard cock, and that you broaden the idea of what this sex is all day, and it can involve a soft cock. Maybe your body's just grinding on each other. Maybe your cock isn't even involved. And there's so many things you can do. You have whole entire bodies. So if you take the idea of sex being not just penetration and add in all these other things, maybe this is what you do with your partner before you do this. You're like, okay, we're going to have a sex marathon today. It doesn't mean fast and hard and let's get there as fast as possible. It's all day sex, which can mean we take, of course, like April said, you take breaks. And then let's make a list of the things that are on the menu. What are some possible things we might like to try and get creative there? And listening to your bodies is going to be another really important thing. And also, trying with, fast and slow and soft and different sensation play and all those things. And I really want to do this. What I would do for myself with my partner or lover is it would be a no screens day rule, other than using the screens to maybe if we want to watch something erotic together, or using the screens like a phone to put music on or something like that. But otherwise, we would be going offline, and it would be a all day naked day, except for if we're cold, we need blankies and things like that. But we'd maybe build a fire, turn up the heat. And then within that, there would be sex and erotic touch and erotic massage and taking a hot tub and maybe taking a bath and feeding each other grapes and chocolate and cooking and eating dinner naked and all those things. So I would expand the sexual menu of all the things, get away from the hard cock or the juicy pussy, and then also expand it to just be a day of connection and pleasure that might not have anything to do with sex in general, or just intimacy, like a day is just intimate for us. And what a wonderful day that would be. It's like the perfect staycation. It's very COVID friendly, by the way.
For sure.
Staycation status. You don't need to spend any money on it, and you can have a fabulous time and a great way to connect. So good for you. And you inspired me. So if my partner is listening, when are we going to do this? Hello?
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
I want to do this
Sex
too.
marathon weekend.
Here we go. And then if you're competitive, see who wins, who can get there first.
And
I don't know where there is.
If you want some lube that's going to last, we love Uber Lube.
Perfect segue.
It's true.
Uber would be great for a sex marathon because it lasts and lasts and lasts.
Yeah.
Silicone-based lube, long-lasting. It's our favorite lube on the market, like top lube. It's silicone. It never gets sticky. It has no scent, no scent, no flavor. It feels luxurious and silky on the skin, like you actually want it on your body. I put it on my cuticles and my elbows and my legs.
On tattoos, on your hair.
All the things. And it's great for sex. Vulva owners love it. Penis owners love
sex.
it. Oh my, fabulous for anal sex because it's long-lasting. April and I both have one on our nightstand. We carry a bottle in our purse because they have a travel bottle, the good to goes too.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's just some of the best stuff. A lot of times when people try it, they say, "This is lube. I had no idea it could be this good." It
is the best lube I've ever used.
It's incredible, yeah. And we were fans of it before. God, I was a fan of it 10 years ago. It was my favorite lube, and still is. It never disappoints. And if you'd like to try a bottle, guess what? You get 10% off and free shipping when you go to uberlube.com and use code shamelesssex. And honestly, the return rate for people to try it is like something like 90%. They try it, they're like, I need more of this stuff. So again, go to uberlube.com, use coupon code shamelesssex, get 10% off and free shipping. That's within the U.S., by the way. Sorry if you live in another country, but it is now global. So maybe you can find it in your local sex shop.
All right. Are you ready for a bio?
Bio time. again?
So Melissa Hite is the founder of Higher Sex Education, where she does one-on-one coaching, teaches classes and workshops, and offers online courses. She's a sexual spiritual advisor, which means that she works holistically with clients to integrate all parts of themselves in practical ways. She is a wealth of wisdom from a unique blend of life experience and academic education. To learn more, visit highersexeducation.com.
All right, everyone, it is interview time, and we are here with a very special guest. This is Melissa Hite, and we are here to talk all about sexuality. What is it to be a sexual spiritual advisor? Overcoming shame from sexuality. Why is the G-spot not the best terminology to use? How do boundaries help us with sex? But first, we always start with the same question for all of our guests, Melissa. How did you get to where you are today in the field of sexuality?
Great question. Thank you. I'll keep it as short as I can. It's a long answer. I started interested in sexuality at a very, very young age. I grew up non-Mormon in Utah, and I had a lot of questions. And I don't think this is just specific for my circumstances. I had a lot of questions that went unanswered, and that was really frustrating for me. I had a really hard time with that. I was an inquisitive child, and I wanted to know the things. And I had normal, healthy questions that any child would ask, but I was always met with a level of awkwardness and uncomfortability from the adults around me. And I wasn't satisfied with that. So I started studying very young. Literally, I was sneaking away in libraries and getting books that were way over my head just to try to get some, like basic anatomy questions answered. So the part of sexuality, I just kind of came in with that inquisitive nature. The healing aspect of it, I went to massage therapy school 15 years ago, and that really sparked my passion for the realms of healing. And those just kind of have naturally blended together over the last 15 years of my work. And I've done all sorts of different things with blending sexuality and healing together. And I want to just say real quick, I mean, healing not in the sense of like there's something wrong or broken or damaged about us as humans, but more like supporting us and caring for ourselves on a path of growth and evolution and wanting to be happier, healthier, more vibrant people, not coming from a place of you're damaged and broken.
Yeah, we always say that as well. You're not broken. No one needs fixing. And we are all, quote unquote, normal, which I'm not a huge fan of the word normal.
What the hell is normal?
But normalizing everyone's experiences. And
normal is diverse.
Normal is diverse. And there's no one person that is more normal than the other. So that is not my next question, though, honestly. It is. So there's this really cool thing that you had brought up, which was the sexual spiritual advisor. So I would love to dive into that. So what does it mean, Melissa, to be a sexual spiritual advisor?
Cool. Great question. It's hard to find the right terms, right, for the things that a lot of us are doing in this kind of field. I've been called many, many things, and this is one that I like. This is one that I'll stick with for now. It means that I work with the integration, the totality of a human being. So like the sexuality is where we come from. It's our base needs like touch. Spirituality has a reputation for being like wooey and really out there. And if that works for you, cool. And if not, I'm not necessarily talking about that. I'm talking more about ideas or beliefs that take us beyond ourselves, these things that are bigger than ourselves. So I work with the integration of these things, of like the bigger spiritual side of us and then the sexual side of us and everywhere in between. So I work with the totality of a human. It's very holistic, the kind of work I do. So spirituality don't be scared. It doesn't need to be way out there, way wooey. It could just be an idea or a belief that you have or that you hold.
I think a lot of people think of spirituality, it has to do with God and dogma and religion. And so therefore it's not approachable. And I used to be one of those people, honestly. I was, when I was younger, I think I was an atheist for the first part of my life. And then I was
Agnostic
more
or something?
agnostic. And
Yeah.
now I have more, and I'm not telling anyone to believe what I believe, by the way. This is me. Now I've just had experiences, whether it's through sex or through whatever, medicine work, all kinds of things, where I have felt something beyond myself, or like a greater connection to something. And so when I think of spirituality, I just think of something beyond just this usness, this meanness, and that there's more to it, and that through that connection to the greater everything, that there's more aliveness, there's more yumminess, there's more connection, there's more divineness, and actually for a lot of folks, I think when they're disconnected from that, and whether it's spirituality or however you want to define it, there's this feeling of disconnect and emptiness. And so I guess my question for you is that kind of a similar way that you think about spirituality and how it aligns with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. It can be whatever you define it as. It's your own beliefs. It's your own way of approaching life. But there is a missing piece that people seem to feel, I should say. And I like bridging the gap. I like the integration, because that happens within the body. All the work that I've done in the world is all about embodiment. And I see this spectrum of, our crown chakra and our root chakra, and just embodying this whole thing. And I often see people in the sexuality field that are very either stuck in the root place, either stuck in this hedonistic place, or stuck out of body. And I like bridging it. I like the integration. I like the holistic nature. It's like bringing it all together,
like a hybrid or a fusion. I call myself a hippie hybrid.
And we get stuck. I grew up in a very the household I wouldn't say was spiritual. It was religious in effect. It was puritanical, right? So it was, sex was a certain way. It was more conservative, and I think of it as like that very that Puritan mindset. And I know Virginity. That there's a shift happening. And I was married to an Israeli Jewish man for many years, and I loved in certain religions, and I wasn't privy to it until I became married to someone, and that opened me up to Judaism. And I'm not trying to mix spirituality with religion, but I just wanted to say I loved like that Shabbat was meant for sex with your partner. Yes, typically a woman in their religious text, but I loved that they designated a day to have like produce children. And I just wanted to.
Was it about pleasure too?
It was about pleasure. Yeah. There's a lot of overlap in some religions with pleasure. And this episode is not about that. It came up for me because I grew up in such a puritanical environment where it was like sex and pleasure wasn't even on the table or offered or allowed. And I guess that is a good initiation to the question about people. What can people do that are feeling shame around sexuality, and that maybe was given to them via religion or via their vessels of parental guidance? What would you do?
That's such a huge
what can people
question.
do? Sorry.
Yeah. That's a huge question. And so much of it, it's hard to answer. So much of it depends on the person and their history, of course, right? So with individual clients, I would do different things. So let me try to answer that in a more broad way for this audience. So there's things that I like to talk about with people. This is a great one for you guys. I want to hear what you think about this. So you both know that the way we speak about things is really important. The way we speak about things, it forms our beliefs, it forms our attitudes, our behaviors. And so I have been working with clients for a long time about really diving into the words like dirty and naughty. Let's just stick with those two for now, just like dirty and naughty. So it's become colloquial, right? It's very common in our culture to use these words interchangeably with sexiness. And I think they carry shame. I think they're dripping with shame, these words. And if we really look into, and hold on, I need a tangent here. Do not let me yuck your yum. There is definitely space in the kink world. If you really want dirty sex, have it, get it, do your thing. If you want naughty sex, if you want to be punished, if that's part of your arousal, get it. It's totally fine. But what I find with a lot of people is when I unpack these words with them, they come to find that they don't actually want to feel naughty. They might want to feel dominated. They might want to feel, right, like the surrender of the yin state of being out of control, like different things. But if we really get into naughty, no, they want, like, what if you could be dominated and feel like holy and respected and worshiped, right? Instead of you've done something wrong or bad. It changes the whole come from. It changes us on a deeper level. So yeah, that's kind of just a conversation I wanted to open up with you two about what do you think about that? What do you think about those words? And
I 100% agree with that when we talk about dirty talk, right?
Yeah,
People
we changed it. We didn't
sexy talk.
Yeah, we wanted to change
Awesome.
dirty talk to sexy talk because it has this
even sexy in
underlying
itself can be
tones.
loaded because there's also I think one or a couple ways to be sexy, right? Especially if you have a vulva, this is how you look sexy. If you have a cock, this is how you look sexy. And that in itself, I've worked with people or talked to people who have a hard time. Like, I don't even know what sexy is to me, but we're not necessarily talking about that. I want to normalize that experience too. If you're someone that says, I don't feel like a sexy person, there's a lot there that is, you've been shown there's this idea of what that should be. But yes, we are what we say, what we speak, what we do. And if we say the things that we're doing are dirty or bad or naughty. Again, of course, like, I mean, I will say, like, the first time I had anal sex was very consensual. I initiated it and it was taboo to me. I don't know where the idea of it being like a taboo thing came, because I wasn't raised religion. No one told me anal sex was bad or wrong, but I think I got it from a lot of other messages in the world, and it made it really fucking hot. And then I wanted to do it. And, but because I didn't have these direct messages, I was a bad person for doing it. So I'm saying I was able to utilize it, and still to this day without having shame around it. And so I don't talk about it as a dirty or naughty thing. It's a hot thing, but it was almost like this, I guess for me, maybe it was hot because it wasn't like the standard missionary penis and vagina norm
that you were hearing about.
Yeah. And so I was like, I want to try that. So I think that there's a lot of ways to approach it. One, like you're saying, is the words that we use, but also like the way that we think about things in our minds and the way we treat ourselves and the conversations we have with ourselves. Which also brings me to another conversation about terms, where the G-spot is something that you said that drives
Graftenberg spot?
Yeah. Mr.
Grafton or Grafenberg?
Grafenberg. I think there's a T in
German.
There. And
Deutschland.
You said it drives you nuts. So I'm curious about that. Like, what about that drives you crazy?
thank you so much. And thank you for making fun of him.
Whoever he is, I don't know.
Yeah. He's not allowed anymore.
Let me pull out my soapbox on this one. This really drives me bonkers. So you already mentioned that it's a spot on female anatomy inside a vagina named by a German doctor. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has issue with that. Him stamping his name on my pleasure parts, not okay with that. So, but that's a little bit beside the point. The conversation of having it be like this spot, it becomes like this mysterious, nebulous. I've read articles like, do all women have G-spots? Do some women not have G-spots? It's turned into like this mystery. And I think it's doing a disservice to all of us. Imagine all of the openness that has come from the clitoral anatomy, internal and external, being more mainstream knowledge. So many people know now what the clitoris looks like. And it has opened up whole new worlds for clitoris owners everywhere, right? So the G-spot bothers me because there's an anatomical structure there. There's actually something there. And we don't acknowledge it. We don't understand it. And so it's this mystery spot, right? Named after this German man. Screw him.
He found it. He discovered it. He put his flag in the G-spot. He declared it mine.
How rude. How rude. Anyway, again, beside the point. The urethral sponge is right there. It's erectile tissue that protects the urethra. I've had people like, really, if I could get mainstream sexuality to call this the urethral sponge and not the G-spot, I think I'll die happy. And I've had friends say to me, you need to find a better word. You need to find a sexier term. No, the G-spot or the urethral sponge is not sexy. I don't care. It's accurate. It's accurate for what is there. Like penis isn't really a sexy word and vagina is not really a sexy word, but it's the word for those parts. So the urethral sponge, it's erectile tissue. It's the same erectile tissue as, it's corpus cavernosum tissue, the same as the sides of the penis, right? Corpus spongiosum is the head and the little running stripe on the vertical stripe. That's corpus spongiosum. And that tissue is the same as the clitoris. The corpus cavernosum, it's just a different kind of erectile tissue. So just like any other erectile tissue, it becomes engorged upon arousal and protects the urethra. Same in men, same in women. I should say, I should not use gender there, but
same in all the bodies, all the humans.
Same in all the bodies. We all have the erectile tissue. And if we understood this, like if we understood that this is something there, then we can start to become familiar with it and experience it and have fun with it. And it's not like some people have it and some people don't. We all have it. Maybe some people are more numb. Maybe some people are more reactive there, like whatever it is, but knowing what it is changes everything rather than it being this mystery spot.
We receive a lot of folks out there, listeners, that are so curious about this erogenous zone of the G-spot. It does seem as though it's a mystery to a lot of folks, either with partner play or within themselves. How do I squirt? I want to be able to squirt, or I've never squirted. Is something wrong with me?
How do I make a person squirt?
And these are real questions, and we're like,
Yes.
whoa, of course. Like these are things that the body can do, and if your body's not doing it, your partner's body's not doing it, or you want to make someone's body do it, like, whoa. Hold the phone there. Slow your roll. So I don't know if you can touch a little bit on perhaps people's G-spot and their levels of arousal and the differentiation between each human and the possibilities and the mystery, aka not the mystery, but like more on the G-spot. If you want to dive into that, that would be amazing.
Dive into my G-spot.
Yeah, we dive into my
G-spot. I'm coming in.
I give you consent. Slow, please. Thank you.
So I'm not going to call it a spot. It's not a spot. It's a structure. Like you don't call the head of your clitoris the C spot and like this is just the one thing. Like it's a whole structure. It's a part of your anatomy, right? So the urethral sponge again is erectile tissue that protects the urethra. And I think just not being aware of it, like so many of us are numb for so many reasons around sexuality. There's so much numbness, but the more we can become aware of it and think of it, like, let's get personal, that's fine. I'll like grab my urethral sponge and like feel it. And it feels like the sides of a penis. It feels like when you're squeezing the sides of a penis, it's that same kind of tissue. And I'll just like, I'm learning to get to know it as what it is, as a structure, not a mystery spot that I'm trying to find where it feels good, but like, what is this part of my body? And just by giving it awareness and attention, you'll get more sensation. You'll get more blood flow. I'm not trying to make it do anything. I'm not trying to make it react in a certain way and like perform its monkey tricks in a certain way, but just like, hi, who are you? I'm getting to know you. I appreciate you. Right? That creates more blood flow, creates more nerve flow, creates more sensation by just getting to know your body. So I want people just to like know what the urethral sponge is. Stop using the term G-spot. It's not a thing. Like it's not a spot. It's a structure.
Okay, time for a quick break. This podcast was brought to you by one of our amazing sponsors, Brooklinen. You know we're all about stepping up our bedroom game, and when it comes to the sheets on our beds, there's no exception. Whether it's tucking in for my precious beauty sleep or making sweet, sweet love to myself or my lover, I want my sheets to feel luxurious like butter on my skin. And I can honestly tell you, Brooklinen offers some of the best on the market, all without breaking the bank. I love their Luxe Edition. They feel so good and sexy that I just can't wait to get in my bed.
And Brooklinen goes beyond spectacular sheets by offering comforters, pillows, towels, loungewear, and so much more. They are so confident you will love their products, they even offer a 365-day money-back guarantee. It's time to sexify your bedroom, y'all, and say hello to our favorite sheets. Go to brooklinen.com now and use promo code SHAMELESS to get $25 off when you spend $100 or more, plus free shipping. That's BROOKLINEN.com and enter promo code SHAMELESS to get $25 off when you spend $100 or more, plus free shipping. brooklinen.com and use promo code SHAMELESS at checkout.
This podcast was also made possible by OMGYes.com. OMGYes is a research-based online program that teaches you all about how to pleasure the pussy. OMGYes studied thousands of vulva owners to find out how they orgasm and then made beautiful animated modules and super honest short videos to give you ways to reach even more pleasure. I've been recommending OMGYes to my clients for years, and it's been changing their lives.
We all know pleasure is fluid and ever-changing, so why not add more tools to your pleasure tool belt? OMGYes is for everyone, so whether you are a vulva owner or you just love vulvas, OMGYes will give you the techniques to get your O-face on. There are 2 seasons to choose from and hundreds of gorgeous videos to explore, so go see what science says about pleasure and visit omgyes.com/shameless. That's omgyes.com/shameless to get $5 off your OMGYes access. Again, omgyes.com/shameless. Go check it out. Now back to the show.
I like that, and I like the open-ended exploration because, again, there's like this idea that there's one way to do it, and instead, the guidance to just explore your body without goals and see what feels good, what doesn't feel good, where's numbness, where's pain, where's pleasure, and it takes a lot of slowness and presence and patience, and a lot of folks have just never touched themselves in this way.
Right.
And also to do it with yourself first and foremost, or also working with other professionals such as yourself to give you guidance, because sometimes we feel like we're in the dark. We just don't really even know what to do. How do we let our hands even move to guide ourselves? So
Right.
I love that idea of broadening it and taking it away from it being this specific spot in this one point, and do it this one way, and you have this goal to get it. And in fact, that in itself makes it so that for a lot of people, it becomes I don't want to say, unobtainable, because they're trying to obtain something. Instead, it's more like, how can we just explore? And if you have a goal, making it pleasure and not orgasm or ejaculation or squirting, etc.
Right.
So the next topic I wanted to dive into was more about boundaries. And I know that you have over 10 years of sex work experience, and you know a lot about your own personal boundaries. And so I'm super curious about what some of the things that most people misunderstand about boundaries and why boundaries are really important.
Yeah, thank you. Another soapbox. I'll change soapboxes here.
Get on your soapbox.
Yeah.
We love it.
Get on my other one. Yeah, I feel like I understand boundaries from a couple different levels, from an experiential level, which is really important, but from an academic level as well. I did do sex work for 10 years, and that was so much boundary work that I learned in the moment, in each moment, what was okay with my body, what was not okay with my body. And I learned to honor that. And I learned really quickly, when I don't honor that, the consequences are pretty big. The consequences are not what I want. And if I do honor my boundaries, things work out better for me. Life flows a lot better, right? So that became really obvious really quickly. The first thing people don't understand about boundaries is that you know your boundaries from your feelings. Your feelings guide you to what your boundaries are. And just the word boundaries kind of invokes this, like, people don't want to talk about it and people don't want to learn about it, because it kind of invokes this, like, this barrier, these fences, these limitations. And especially when we're talking about sexuality, it's like, I don't want limitations. I want to be free. Right. And what people don't understand is the path to freedom, the pathway to freedom is through understanding your own boundaries. There's this certain type of internal freedom that only comes from understanding your boundaries. It's not something you can get externally with the right amount of money or whatever, all the things. So your boundaries it's your personal truth. Understanding boundaries is understanding your personal truth, and this leads to freedom. Boundary work is core work for anyone on a path of personal growth or authentic living or healing. Boundaries is just really core work that everyone needs to do. I'm actually starting. I'm sorry. I'm going to do a shameless self-plug here.
Do it.
I'm starting
shameless sex. So it's perfect.
Perfect. I've been doing work for a long time that's not digital, and COVID has really made me realize I need to turn and digitize all my stuff. So I'm having my first course and I'm so excited about it. It's a 3-month deep dive into boundaries course, just really unraveling all of our past beliefs and healing ourselves and getting really rooted and connected and anchored into our personal truth and into our freedom. So that's super exciting for me. And I'm starting that in March. So I'll give you information. I'm sure you guys will leave information on how to find me there, but I'm super excited about that. I think boundaries are really important for everybody. And I love the conversation. And it's been some of my most passionate and what's the word I'm looking for?
Profound.
Rewarding for myself. It's some of the most rewarding work when people realize that honoring themselves and loving themselves is the key to their happiness and their freedom and their aliveness in their life. I love the work.
I think that would be a great touch point, because I can speak for myself, and boundaries are really difficult for me to set because I'm a pleaser, right? And when it comes to the bedroom and relationships, I tend to want to be the cool girl, or the girl that will dive in and be okay with all of these things, whether or not sometimes my comfortability veil will be lifted. And I'm like, am I really cool with this right now? How far is this going to go?
But I don't want to ruin the peace. So I'm going to say yes.
So I tend to sometimes push my boundaries and it feels good after it happens. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that I did that. And sometimes I push them. I'm like, holy fuck, I should have maybe been better to myself and said no, because I feel weird about that now. And there have been times in my life where that has come up. And so this isn't just for me, because I know there's other folks out there that feel probably as I felt maybe before in their lives. So I would love, just if you have any bits of advice, maybe just some just a few pieces to offer about boundary settings and what folks can do that struggle with boundaries, such as myself.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. The first thing to understand is that it is your personal truth. So, well, let me go back to when you're saying, like, sometimes you push past it and you feel good, and sometimes you push past it and it doesn't feel good. So there's a feeling inside of you before it's the still small voice. It's this quiet voice. It's why we need to slow down and listen to our intuition in these situations. Because beforehand, I guarantee you, there's a moment that tells you you're just scared, but really you would really like to do this. You would feel really good if you did this thing, right? Or there's the moment of like, no, this is not okay for me. This is pushing me past my limits. This isn't just fear. This doesn't feel good. So there's a nuance in the energies beforehand, which many of us just are not attuned enough to be aware of those nuances, but they're there. The messages are there. Your body will tell you if that, like, okay, I'm scared and I'm nervous, but I really want to do this. So let's do this. And then you feel good. That's when you feel good after. Or no, this is just a no for me. And that's the detail about understanding that it's a personal truth, that it's just a yes or a no. And you really don't have a say in your yeses or nos in this regard. And that's a hard thing to wrap our brains around sometimes. Like if I asked you right now, would you like a glass of water? Your body is going to give you a message that says yes or no. Your body's going to tell you you're thirsty, or you're going to be like, yeah, thumbs up, I'm good. Right. And you don't really have a say in that. Your body's just going to tell you yes or no there, because that's your personal truth. And your body tells you your personal truth in each moment. It changes in every moment. But in the moment, if you're present and if you learn how to listen to that, you'll get the message. You'll get the answer. Yes, I'm thirsty. And I'd like to have a glass of water. Right.
Hence why our saying at Shameless Sex is go slower than slow and then slower than that. And this might not be all the time. It's like it's in the beginning or for the first 75% of the time or whatever or in the middle where you're like, I need to slow down so I can listen to my body, because when we move really fast, we miss those. I'll speak for myself. I miss those messages when I move really fast. When I'm the actual physical movements or the mental conversations are very quick and rapid, I'm missing a lot of the things my body's actually trying to tell me. And my body's brilliant. It's constantly saying, yes, no, maybe, slow down, stop, more. I love this. And I often overwrite that.
Yes. I say all the time. I'm with you on all the time. 75% is not enough. Slow down all the damn time.
Yeah. But then when I want fast and hard, I'm like, I want it fast and hard. That's because I'm getting a fucking yes and I'm listening to that. And that's when it's time for that. But otherwise, when I override that, then I don't have my amazing sex.
But you can have it fast and hard and have your mind be really slow and aware and feeling that, like so feeling that, because you want that and you're in it and you're so fully present. And if your head's going really fast, you're not going to feel that. I think practicing slowing down all the time is beneficial. Doesn't necessarily mean just your movement.
And the check-in piece, I did appreciate that. I think that sometimes you do receive messages right away. And sometimes the glass of water scenario was a really good one, because how often do you go somewhere and someone's asking you or offering you food or something to drink, right? This is not sexually related at all. And it is a good time to check in with your body though. And you say yes because you feel like you need to be cordial, or you have to honor this person's, I don't know, their desire to give you don't want to seem water.
Rude.
Yes, right. Yeah. So it does kind of have this snowball effect that carries over into other pieces.
Well, someone loses, right? Because if you choose to appease them, then you lose. And then there's this thing, well, it's easier to do that or better to do that than for me to choose myself. And this isn't for all people, because some people only choose themselves. It's a balance. Mm-hmm. There's a balance in here in the middle, I believe, where we can have both.
Choosing yourself doesn't need to mean that anyone else is hurt or harmed or losing out. They could get the greatest experience by you saying no. Mm-hmm. So make sure you don't think that choosing yourself means that anyone else is negatively affected.
Yeah. And if that's a hard concept for you to grasp, and then there's work to do around that, because it's easier said than done. Right. And which brings me to the work that you do. You said you have an offering in March. I believe this is actually airing the very beginning of March. But tell us about how people can work with you, your offerings, how they can find you, etc.
Thank you. Yeah. My website is Higher Sex Education, HIGHER, elevating things up, highersexeducation.com. Everything's on there. You can contact me on there. I also have an Instagram profile, same name, at Higher Sex Education, and a Facebook group at this point. So those are available right now. You can see more about my offerings on my website, and hit me up if you want to get in on that boundary intensive course.
And that was launching in March, you said, right?
2021.
Yeah. And this is the first one, and there's definitely going to be more. And maybe I'll push it back, knowing that you guys are advertising it in March, the beginning. Maybe I'll start mid-March or something.
Perfect.
And you do one-on-one coaching right now, so virtually, obviously, and you have quite a few offerings. And I think if folks want to work on anything that we talked about, and I'm sure your coaching goes beyond even the realm of what we are talking about. But I think the holistic sex education piece is really beautiful, because it really is building upon a foundation of creating the working on the human. The stuff, sometimes it's uncomfortable, like me with my boundaries. I'm sure Melissa, you'd be like, okay, April, where is this stuff coming from?
I think a lot of people think holistic also is very wooey. And when I think of holistic, I just think of all parts of you. So it's not just like
from the ground up.
It's not just like, oh, it's the hippie wooey part. It's all parts of you. It's your sexual self. It's your physical self. It's your emotional self. It's your spiritual self. It's all parts of you, because they are all connected. There's no way around that. I'm sorry. A lot of us have been taught that they're separate things in separate compartments, but that's not how it works.
It's not how it works. And that's why I work with the totality of the being, because it has to work that way. Sometimes we're working on your diet, sometimes we're working on your movement routine, or your meditation, or your mindfulness, or your your practice with your partner in bed or your solo practice. Like it's all the things, and we'll work where you're wanting to work, where your goals are.
Yeah, your array of expertise is so, and we read your bio, but it's pretty incredible. And so thank you for sharing your wisdom with our listeners, for talking about the G-spot, which it never drove me nuts. But now that you mention it, there's a lot of female bits that are named after some age-old doctors from various regions of the world. So I think shedding light on that, and maybe we don't have to change the spot or the names of the spots or call them spots anymore. I just think that this was really enlightening. Thank you from my whole heart. And I'm sure Amy, I can speak for her sometimes. She'll let me. Thank you from hers as well. And from our G spots. That isn't a spot. Our G.
Your urethral sponge.
My urethral sponge.
Thank you from the bottom.
Urethral sponge.
Urethral sponges.
Well, like Cardi B says, that dangly thing in the back of my throat. It's like, that's the, what is it called? Starts with a U. It's the ooluga. Come on, what is it called?
Uvula.
The ugula.
Oh my God, Melissa knows all the terms.
Yeah, from the WAP, the WAP song. She's like, you're gonna hit that dangly thing in the back of my throat. Yeah. On that regard,
anyways,
if you want to hit the dangly thing in the back of your throat with some wine, we do appreciate that as well. Go to marginswine.com. Guess what, y'all? Only 2 releases a year, a spring and a fall. It's women owned and operated. We have loved her wine and her winemaking skills since almost the beginning of Shameless Sex, and she's a huge fan of our podcast. We're a huge fan of her wine. One of Amy's favorites is the Sangiovese.
I also love the Chenin Blanc and the Muscat Blanc.
So if you want to take a go at touching the little thing in the back of your throat with some wine, go ahead and go to marginswine.com. If you want to order 3 or more bottles, you can actually get a discount of 10%, which is very generous. Use the code ShamelessSex10. And if you want to go big or go home, order 6 or more bottles and you save 15% off when you enter the code ShamelessSex15. Remember, you can just go to our website and check out these codes. Melissa, you are a goddess. You're amazing. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for being part of the Shameless Sex revolution. I'm going to invite you right now. Go to iTunes and give us 5 stars. We read every single one of your dangly little in the back of your throat reviews, even if they weren't dangling. And we love y'all. We'll see you next Tuesday. Ciao for now. Want to learn more? Go to shamelesssex.com.
And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use code SHAMELESSSEX at purepleasureshop.com.